atoms are made from one, and in the end, all things return to one.
In other words, one is all.
Indeed, and all is one as well.
All is ultimately of the one. So if all is not included in the one, then all is nothing.
You have passed.
Of atoms varies. They noticed one very strange fact about the nuclear stability of one particular atom. Of all the 92 different elements, of the 92 different types of atoms that make up the universe around us, gases like hydrogen and oxygen, solids like carbon and silicon, metals like gold and silver, one is special: iron. So what makes iron so special? It stems from the unique structure of its nucleus. The 26 protons, along with the neutrons, combine in a very special...
And again, the 26, letters in the alphabet, is also connected to this. So you see the little synchronicities across the board.
Special way to make iron incredibly stable. For some reason, nature has decreed this as the number that allows the strong force and the electromagnetic force to balance each other perfectly. It makes iron.
So again, it just said 26, the atomic number of 26, 26 protons and neutrons and electrons. It allows for a balance between the electromagnetism energy, you know what I'm saying? So
the most stable element in the universe.
One of the most stable
now
elements.
We can understand why fusion occurs. Lighter atoms can combine together to become more iron-like. And fission is the opposite process. Atoms heavier than iron can split apart into lighter, more iron-like pieces. So all elements seek the stability of iron. And that fact underpins the whole history of the cosmos. The best way to understand this is to imagine the relative stability of atoms as a couple of graphs. Here's what they show.
And again, with this being said about iron and its stability, part of the reason, again, like why some of the fairy energy may not be too fond of, the iron is because of how stable it is, because a fairy energy kind of likes to be free and unbounded and just let's dance, drink, and not care about the stability of tomorrow. But it's kind of like the extremely living in the now moment, but without kind of having consideration for the future in essence. And that may be, so two ways you could see how mythology aligns in that way. The fairies not necessarily caring about the future, and because of, in many mythologies, they wasn't able to reproduce like talking about, hence why the whole stories of them stealing human babies, you know what I'm saying? So maybe they didn't too much care about the future of themselves to that essence because of, not easily reproducing, so yeah, just that connection with iron. As above, so below, as within, so without. Mythology is anatomy by law.
Lightest elements, hydrogen and helium, are not quite as stable as they could be. They'd like to be something else, something even more stable. Similarly, the heaviest elements like uranium and polonium are actually unstable. In fact, they're so unstable that they fall to pieces naturally through radioactivity. And here in the middle are the most stable atoms of all: nickel, cobalt, and iron.
As a matter of fact, pausing right there, he said that's the most stable atoms. No coincidence that they're also the three elements are atoms that are more easily magnetized. So when you're playing with a magnet, cobalt, nickel, and iron has the the capacity to be magnetically drawn by a magnet more than any other element. So, that also speaks to, like, again, the stability of these atoms, in essence, is what makes them attractive in so many ways. So you see also, like, the whole relationship dynamic of, feminine and masculine, being expressed through these elements.
So far, so good. Now, here's the amazing bit. This nuclear stability graph turned out to be uncannily similar to a different...
And now, before you even get into this, when they go into the whole, we took a picture of this planet and we're able to say what element is on these planets, I don't really subscribe to too much of that, you know what I'm saying? But hey, they do draw some comparisons again to, like, the observable aspects, aka the microcosm, and things we could look at within our bodies and, within the atoms that's right by us. But, just that
graph altogether.
The disclaimer.
But it was a similarity that no one had ever suspected. That's because data from this other graph came not from the tiny nucleus, but from as different an arena as you can imagine, the vast expanses of space. This other graph came from astronomers who study the blazing light from stars and shows the abundances of the different types of atoms in the universe. By far the most common atom of all is that of hydrogen, followed closely by helium, but not a great deal of anything else. Now look at this, it really is of cosmic significance. Both graphs, the stability graph and the abundances graph, show the same strange but very noticeable peak in exactly the same place.
As above, so below.
The first scientists who spotted this were
As
blown
within,
away.
so without.
One graph from the tiny nucleus and the other from the vastness of space.
Microcosm,
magical
macrocosm.
Atom, the atom that provided the key to unlocking
brings
the secrets
forth
of the
truth.
entire universe. Iron, the atom which was the key to understanding the atomic nucleus, also turned out to be one of the most abundant atoms in the entire universe. Amazingly, the properties of its nucleus seem to lead directly to how much of it there is. And it's not just true of iron. Radium, which is very unstable.
But yeah, and you see the significance, with the Iron Age and the rulership of Mars, you know what I'm saying? And Aries being the head of, the beginning of the zodiac archetypes in connection with the number one energy as well. But Aries ruled by Mars, and Mars metal is iron, you know what I'm saying? So crystals, you know what I'm saying, that would tell a story as well. And as I bring up iron, studying atoms a little bit more, seeing that iron is one of the most stable atoms out of all atoms, because basically an atom is like, an element, because an atom has a certain amount of protons, neutrons, and electrons, and literally, depending on the number of protons that's in a certain atom, that atom becomes a certain element, and that element has a certain name, and that could even, again, an atom is mythology by law. In this case, chemistry is anatomy by law, because the atom could be connected to Adam, in the story of, in the mythology, of when Adam was in the garden and was asked to name all these different animals, could also be in connection with, naming the different elements, which are atoms in essence, atoms, but, kind of like the atom as well. But the iron element is one of the most stable, elements, is less likely to go through, when you get into, like decay of atoms, and again, fusion and fission, but I'm not going too deep into that, but just simply, iron is very stable, it's one of the most stable elements, and no coincidence that Earth's core, is, it has a lot of iron in it, and the crust of Earth has a lot of iron in it. It's like the fourth most abundant element within the crust of the Earth. You know what I'm saying? And no coincidence, the Earth is, again, it's a world, and again, in the mythological stories, at first was the Word, and the Word is God, but then also a word created the world, because a word, the things we speak can create a world in a sense of like, oh, now I was drinking all the time, but now I done created a world where I'm an entrepreneur. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, and you created that world by affirmations, you know what I'm saying? So literally you created a new world for yourself, a new experience by using certain words. Now that's just from our perspective, again, on a human level, but then on a level of the Earth, like, again, creating a world with a word. You know what I'm saying? And again, a world, WHIRL, like a whirlpool, and you have to go into some of the Gnostic scriptures that break down, the aeons and thought forms, because even, again, Yadala brought another name for Yadala brought, or what he was also called, was forethought. Like, again, like a thought, like an idea, and an idea, a thought, and all of the different angles of perspective are angels of perspective. No coincidence that angles have a degree sign, which is shaped like a halo, that the angels have over their head, because they're like angles, you know what I'm saying? And hence the whole archangel, because, an arc kind of has a certain angle, when you think of like a full arc, like a little jokey joke right quick with the McDowell's and McDonald's, but the golden arches. But like a arch, literally an arch like that is like 180 degrees, not the full 360, but it's 180 degrees, but you see all those different connections, but just bringing it back with the creation of the world with words and connection to iron. And iron has 26 atomic number of 26, and so that 26 is also connected to basically, 26 letters of the alphabet, which creates words. So no coincidence that the stability of iron, to make this world stable, you know what I'm saying? And again, like a more stable physical world, because at one point this world was like a lot more, lighter, so to speak, you know what I'm saying? Like heavier elements didn't come about till later. And again, that's a whole nother nuclear fission conversation, you know what I'm saying? And atom, like getting into the science of atoms and spiritual, and mythological stories as well. But again, the iron makes up the majority of this world that was created by words. And iron has atomic number 26, which is the number of alphabets, more so in the angelish language or the English language, you know what I'm saying, that has 26 alphabets, you know what I'm saying, to make up different words. Now, of course, again, angelish English ain't, the most ancient way of speaking, and it's a lot less more alphabets or characters when you get deeper into it, but just again showing that connection with iron, and for the most part, this also connects to the Aries energy and the Mars energy as well, and the number one energy, and hence why certain depictions of the God in the Bible could almost seem as like a head first, like baby, because one is almost like Aries is like the baby of the zodiac. You know, it's like, hey, it's like the only child of the zodiac. You know, like it's all about my ideas and what I think, and, you know, it's about me, you know, type of energy. So you see those connections as well too. But again, no coincidence that also iron is one of the most stable atoms, and it makes up most of, you know, the Earth's crust and the core, you know. Now, of course, you know, the exact science is debatable, you know, because most of us who speak on any of this, you know, and these connections, you know, we're not out here everywhere we go seeing like, oh, everywhere I stand and I go, and I pick up the ground, it's 90% iron, you know what I'm saying? I mean, most people who drink water every day don't test and see whether it's 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen, you know what I'm saying? Even scientists, like a scientist, you know, if you had to do all that to prove that you were drinking water before you drank it, shit, you might as well be thirsty all the time, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, but it does take, you know, some form of, you know, like getting into the science of it, you know what I'm saying? But again, with the science of metaphysics and the law of correspondence, you know, that's another way, you know, you could look at it, because you could observe the body, and because the body in essence comes from Earth, and, you know, that whole connection, then you could assume that again, just like with our body having a lot of water and the Earth having a lot of water, you know, and then realizing that the air is almost like a form of water as well, you know, so it's water all around. And same thing within our bodies as well, you know, it's water from our skin to the deepest parts of our cells and our organs, you know, and being 70% water in essence. So, you know, you just see all of those different little connections, and that also gets into, you know, I didn't realize this, and this is another example of how, again, just strengthening your intuition through meditation and, you know what I'm saying, doing, you know, being present, strengthening your intuition, you will start to unravel this inner knowledge, you know, without having to read all the books. Because, like, as I'm starting to kind of I'm getting into that mode of kind of reading a few little things to kind of, you know, solidify some connections, and like looking at the Emerald tablets, and, you know, and in comparison with the anime Full Metal Alchemist, and seeing like, dang, like all this, you know, as above, so below, and law of correspondence, like I was always gravitating to that so much, you know. Again, you don't watch this YouTube channel if you don't know what AASB stands for. If you see that in that abbreviation in a video and you don't know what that stands for, you just started watching, you know, some of my videos. And welcome, you know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't trying to knock you if you new, you know what I'm saying? Welcome. Appreciate you being here, you know what I'm saying? Because if you're listening, you aware and you on a path to, you know, helping others heal themselves and become more aware in some way, form, or fashion, you know. But yeah, you know, like seeing how much all of that little aspects of alchemy, you know, is connected with the law of correspondence, you know, but not really seeing it from the literary perspective, because I wasn't really like, you know, super into alchemy research from that perspective. You know, I didn't get into the, you know, again, it was like tidbits of just, you know, seeing literature here or there, but more so just kind of once I found out about the law of correspondence, and, you know, and then having that type of questioning. And I ain't promoting, I'm not saying yay or nay on taking psychedelics. You don't have to take psychedelics, because you could meditate to achieve, are doing certain breath work to achieve these states of being, to tap into these dimensions. But, like with having the law of correspondence and like as the main way of questioning things, and then having DMT trips, like that was kind of my way, again, and other than just simple meditations, that kind of again unraveled a lot of the perspectives that you get from me on this channel. You know what I'm saying? But we could just stop it there, because again, I feel like the awareness of how the energy work on a level of karma, and how to release ourselves from, stagnant, toxic, karmic cycles, is one of the most important things. Hence why you start to realize why certain spiritual leaders and teachers, or certain people, kind of allowed to still be popular, because they're not really telling you about nothing that really liberates the soul. It seems inspirational and liberating, but it's more so from like either trying to liberate a certain race or this and that, instead of like trying to help, everybody in this realm try to become aware of how to help themselves, But, that's very key. But again, that perspective of Earth having body parts, and karmically what body parts of the Earth is real healthy or real unhealthy, But now it's the vibrate. Y'all know what it is. Peace.